Še enkrat pozdravljeni po filmu Švic in dobrodošli na pogovoru z režiserjem filma Magnusom Von Hornom. Naj vas vljudno povabim, da tudi vi sodelujete v pogovoru in svoje vprašanja zapišete v okvirček Q&A, Questions and Answers. Zdaj pa bom nadaljevala kar v angleščini. And let us all together, in my name, in the name of Kinodvor, and also the viewers, welcome the director of the film, Magnus Von Horn. Welcome, Magnus.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We do not know what the viewers feel and think, but we will know soon enough because they will join in with their questions, writing. So just perhaps to start with a very basic question, I was thinking because your film is quite a simple film, but when you think about it on and on after watching it, then many questions arise. And I was thinking, what was your first idea or wish to make a film about? Did you want to make a film about social media or modern communication or loneliness? What was the first thing?
Well, it was never about social media or any kind of opinion on where the world is going or what effect it will have on our kids and so on. It was very much about the character of an influencer that kind of fascinated me. And it had a lot to do with my own reactions to the influencers I started following maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It was on Snapchat back then. It was the first time I saw a fitness motivator. And I was very interested in how I at first felt kind of provoked. And I felt it was shallow and I didn't understand how you could, if you have so many followers, how can you use your platform to kind of nonsense? But after a while, I was more curious with why I was reacting in this kind of negative way. And when I thought about this or tried to be more positive, I felt a kind of envy of being able to share your life. So kind of with such kind of spontaneity. She had like crossed a border I could never cross, I felt. And in the beginning, the film was much, I mean, it was this character, but in the beginning, I was playing around with a kind of a thriller action, kind of crazy drama, not very realistic at all. But the more I dug into the character of Sylvia, the more I understood that I didn't need all these I felt I didn't need sensational kind of fireworks in the story. Like her character was enough. And in the end, it kind of, from being a big kind of crazy story, it just became 3 days, very realistic days in her life. But I think that was because I opened up towards the character, and and the character became enough for me, and that was interesting enough.
Yeah, character is actually in every shot. I mean, maybe, yeah, I think she's not
Almost
in the shots of the city, yeah. But why I asked about relations in the modern world is that I find her character fascinating because I find her very true, actually, and that her truest relationships are through this media, are not with her family and so, because not that she's not true, but they do not listen to her, huh? But
yeah.
the followers do listen to her. It's interesting.
But I think that's also what really fascinated me, and what I maybe was something I wanted to make a film about in the beginning, or was something maybe I observed as well in my phone. Some clips that were so true, and I wondered what life, I mean, offline would look like if you can be so true in your phone. And the phone has always, or the social media has always, I mean, in a kind of I think cliche way of thinking, the social media represents something fake, and the real world is always something real. But maybe it's in a way the other way around. That the phone or a stage or whatever it can be, I think social media, it can be interchanged with, I don't know, writing for someone else, or a stage for an actor, or a football field, or a gym, I don't know. But it's just area, an arena where you can be more true than in your private life.
Means of expression, or even artistic expression, that it's not
Yes,
totally literal, but quite true.
absolutely.
But let us stay still a little bit with the character, because the actress, actually, Magdalena Kolesnik, is very fascinating. She looks like a true fitness master, but she has a coldness and a depth at the same time. And did you look for her for a long time, or did you find her? Is she a known actress?
Yeah, I mean, she is professional actress within theater, or was. Now she's acting much more in film. But she was actually the first person who I casted. I saw her in theater, and then I asked her to come for casting, and it was the first actress I tried for the role. And I felt she was good, but it was some kind of barrier in my mind. I need to cast for many months. You know, you need to look at hundreds of different actresses before you can choose. So I did that, and but I kept asking her to come back to try different scenes, to try more and more. And eventually, it was more about me convincing myself that she had already done her job in a way. But it was also fun, I think, because when I first met her, she didn't have Instagram. She didn't she maybe had a Facebook profile. She didn't know anything about how the routine of an influencer. She didn't know this world. But she said something which I liked, and that was that often people, because she's blonde, and she can easily be taken for this blonde stereotype. And she told me that when someone treats her like a stupid blonde, then she becomes 2 times stupid blonde. She gives it 2 times more, gives it more and more and more. And I thought this was really funny and something we could use. And she was kind of very devoted and patient about the process, and spent 1.5 years preparing for this part, with all it takes, with the gym, working out all the time, and getting a kind of a social media routine. It was a long process, which I also think cannot be made faster. It needs to take time, because it becomes slowly. Sylvia becomes Magda, and Magda becomes Sylvia, and they start speaking in one voice. It doesn't mean that. It means that somehow what is important for Magda as a private person is also becomes eventually important for Sylvia.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, somewhere I believe deep inside we're all the same, and we can all understand each other. And I think the process for the actress, and also for me writing the script, it needs to take time, because eventually we kind of find a unanimous voice, even if we look differently, even if we're women, men, influencers, directors working somewhere else. It doesn't matter, but eventually we can find one voice.
So the preparation for Magdalena was physical, for the fitness, and it was this social media moment that probably she was looking at them, maybe taking them. But what did you talk with her? I imagine that you talked a lot between you two. Uh, what did you want to point out to her, and what was this process?
Well, I think we found out on the last day of shooting, and I think that's what's in the last scene of the film. And it was a process all the way to the last day of shooting, when we shot the last scene of the film. In the script, it was, I had written something, what she was going to say in this morning show, but it always felt a bit kind of fake for me, because I had written it. And I think we never really knew. We knew intellectually what was going to happen in this scene, but I would say the whole kind of preparation and everything we talked about, and all the rehearsals we did, and all the actors we casted together with Magdalena, was a way to lead up to this last scene. And we shot it for 2 days, and the first day was kind of catastrophe. It didn't work. And then after the set, we sat down and we were speaking a lot. I was recording her, what she was saying. We were writing. And the next day we had some kind of new monologue from her side. And it was also very personal from Magdalena's side. And she said this, and it was, I think, a kind of effect of the whole preparation of all the work we did. And it's because it was true to her and it's true to Sylvia. It's also true to me. And I mean, I can speak a lot about this because I mean, it's difficult for me to maybe give concrete examples of exactly what we did, what we spoke about, because there was so much of this. But eventually, I think my goal as a director is to come to a point when I don't need to direct, when Magdalena knows more about her character than I do, and she knows better where to go or what to say or how she would react. I can only give a situation. And okay, the script is kind of a blueprint and I work a lot on it, but on the set, I should follow her intuition, just like I follow the intuition of my cinematographer. And I also realized that if I start telling my cinematographer, because he's also in a way kind of like an actor, and he builds up an intuition for the story. And if I start telling him, oh, in this moment you should look over there, or in this moment, turn the camera there, I see directly, and he says, yeah, okay, sure, no problem. But I see in the monitor that I am destroying things. I'm putting intellectual process into his intuition. And the same thing I can do with an actor, with Magdalena. If I tell her, oh, think about, then I disturb the intuition. So it's a lot of preparation, but on set I should follow them and I should create a situation that is interesting for their characters or for the camera to exist within. That's something I learned, a way of working on this film, not for all films, but for this film.
There are some questions from the public related to the character, and Angers is asking, he says hello.
Hello?
He is actually working for a newspaper and he wants to tell you thank you for a great evening. When Sylvia says that she's single by choice, is it really a choice or more of a result of her being an influencer? It seems to me this job is kind of 24/7.
I think you mean I guess you mean in this viral video she makes when she says she's alone, or you mean in the end of the film, I guess, when she said, I think it's like, I think she's alone because she doesn't want really to be with anyone else. Or I think I think what I find is interesting is in her kind of viral video, that is in the beginning of the film, where she says she wants a boyfriend, she feels alone, she wants to be with someone. I think her feeling is true, but what she says is kind of a lie. Not a lie like active lie, but she doesn't really know how to, or what she is feeling, the words for it. So she thinks in a kind of a cliche way, she speaks in a cliche way, I need a boyfriend, I don't want to be alone, blah, blah, blah. But it's not true, I think, for her that she wants a boyfriend. And it's probably not true that maybe she can't have a boyfriend. And I think when she says it's okay to be alone, I think for her, she would be really alone and tragic if she didn't have a phone. I think phone is kind of a saving her life. And I don't believe that, oh, but if she, because I also had many conversations when people say, oh, but if she didn't have a phone, she would learn a different way of connecting or communicating with people. But I don't think this is true for all people. And for Sylvia, I think not having a phone or not having a network would be a kind of suicide, social suicide.
I think it's. I think also when she does come into contact with people, that it's always a little twist that at the beginning she's distant, but then she falls for for people. She's very, humane actually. Also with the
She,
schoolmate and so sorry.
yes, no, because she has kind of empathy.
Mm,
She's maybe kind of a freak in a way, but she has empathy. And but I also think, I mean, it's not only about her, because it was also something I thought about at the beginning of this film, that maybe the phone is better because people are fucked up, or people are crazy, people are complicated and difficult to be with, and they kidnap you in a shopping mall and they say, oh, well, let's speak, and then they kind of have this kind of, they become vampires and they project all their feelings and insecurities on you, and it's also complicated. So maybe it's easier in this phone to some extent, because yeah, like you say, when she shows kind of her empathetic side, this friend is also quite crazy, I think.
Mhm. A question from anonymous attendee says, "Thank you for this film. Congratulations. Did you ever consider making this film with a male protagonist? Why did you go with female influencer?"
I thought about it, but much later. When I started writing the film, it was because I started following an influencer, which kind of inspired me a lot. And it was just a starting point that it was impossible for me to change that later. And there was also other inspirations that came with that package from my life that made it a female main character and made it the influencer a woman. But later on in the process, I many times thought, not that I wanted to change it, but I thought, oh, it would be interesting film if it was a male influencer as well. It was because I was all the time thinking I'm really missing a film, a serious kind of drama, or a film that treats an influencer or social media seriously. I was missing these films, and then sometimes I would think, oh, but I would maybe even miss more a film with a male influencer that is a serious portrait in cinema. And I think that would be great and interesting, and I'm really looking forward to such a film.
There is a question from Kuhn. If you started your film with introducing the character of the influencer, where did the idea of the stalker come in?
The stalker was um, it was part of all the crazy ideas in the beginning. The stalker was there all the time. The stalker was a character. It was the whole night scene with the stalker, or that whole kind of confrontation, was one of the first scenes I wrote for the film. And it was I was very it was something. In the same time I was watching influencers, I was also watching all the material that Björk, you know, Björk the singer, she had a stalker in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Ricardo Lopez, and he was planning to kill Björk
Mm-hmm.
because she kissed a black guy. And he loved her so much and his music. And he was from Peru, I think. No, maybe not Peru, from Paraguay, and living in the States. And he was 23 years old, and he was an exterminator of bugs, cleaning bugs from restaurants.
Okay.
And he was crazy. But in his preparation to kill Björk in a very strange way, he filmed himself and started recording himself with a you know, I don't know what kind of camera, but the cameras they had in the beginning of the 90s. And he recorded over a year time 24 hours of material while he was going more and more kind of crazy and building different kind of bombs. But most of the time he was also sitting in front of this camera and spilling his guts, talking about his family, talking about why he quite aware of himself, sometimes very moving, which is also a very strange feeling in the context of what he's planning to do. And he was like, he was doing a lot of what maybe a Sylvia character is doing with a phone or talking, but he doesn't have any followers. And he's speaking to no one. Okay, afterwards, a lot of people see this material, but at the time he was just speaking to himself and recording it. And there was something in the stalker to me that felt like it's a kind of the dark side of Sylvia, or the worst nightmare of Sylvia is maybe being a fat man, lonely in a masturbating in a car. And this is a kind of a shadow side of her. So I mean, I don't like, I try not to think too intellectual about it, but it's a shadow, yeah, it's a Jungian shadow of herself that she needs to kind of meet to be able to love herself. And I think she reacts. What I liked is that she can be really provoked by the stalker, because she lets herself be very provoked by him because she feels they have something in common.
Mm, mm. Why did you choose a fitness influencer? Because she could be a cook or something. I mean, I feel that this strength is important for her physical strength because many or two times in the film she's always carrying something.
Yeah,
Just that this physical strength is important for her character actually.
I think it's, and the best, what I liked, I don't know how visible it is in the film, but I like the idea so much that after all the workout she does and all the hard work she puts into doing squats, the best use she makes of it is when she's able to lift up the stalker in this kind of squat, and he's heavy and big, and she gets to use these muscles. Uh, that was, but I really like that. But yeah, also it was always a fitness influencer from me. There was no, it's also, I mean, there are so many reasons why it's better on the film. It looks better, it's more dynamic than a, let's say, makeup influencer or cooking. It's also so much about healthy living and healthy on the outside, and it makes such a great contrast to, you know, what you feel on the inside. And there's also so many interesting strange contradictions in, maybe not in all societies, but especially in Poland with the fitness world, and how it's so much also about a kind of woman power, or kind of there you it's kind of a playboy gaze still, or a kind of a sexualized industry, but it's all about women empowerment and come together, and it has a kind of a strange thing when feminism has become a capitalized product that can be sold with t-shirts. We can do it together, and there's so many layers in that. It makes it very provocative in a way, as
Mm,
well as that. And I like that a lot. To me, it's the same when you have Sylvia, who, if you would just turn on the TV and see the last scene, if you would live in the world of the film, you would see this blonde girl in pink tights and leggings with painted nails, sitting crying, saying the things she says. And I like it so much that what she says can feel very true, and the way she says it is full of truth, but the way she looks and the stage on which she says it makes it also plastic in a way. And
mm,
that clash, I feel, is great.
mm,
And it's something that like inspires me or doesn't make it so obvious.
Why did you title it Sweat?
Because her work, her new DVD is called Sweat.
Yeah.
But I mean, her show is called Sweat, but also because it's all about the sweat. I mean, in every way, I think the sweat of I don't know, sweaty situations, the sweat coming out. This there's I don't know. There's so much in that, I think.
Mm, there is. We sweat all the time. Huh. Okay.
Yes. No,
Super.
but I think like this kind of the pressure, or the it's a kind of it's a sweat for her. It's like putting pressure on something, on someone,
Mm,
and I think she this sweat coming out is the film.
mm. There is a question from Jure, actually, that connects now to your answer. He says, he asks, you come from Sweden but work in Poland. What drew you to Poland? Um, he says, we have a couple of Slovene filmmakers also working in Poland. So, what makes this country so attractive for film people? This is his question. And I will add then, if you can also answer, why did you put this film in Poland? I mean, why did you make this film in Poland?
I mean, I moved from Sweden when I was mm, 21 to join the. I'm 37 now, so it's a long time ago, and to join to go attend the Polish film school, and it's where I met my wife. We made a family. I stayed there after the school. Is where I met all the people I work with. So I have. It's not because of love of Poland. I stayed in Poland, but it's the love of the people I've met, and but they have also kind of accepted me as a filmmaker there, even though if I'm not Polish or at the Polish Film Institute, and I'm part of the whole film society there. So I mean, my first feature film was set in Sweden, and I went back with my producer to Sweden to make it. because that film was always rooted in Sweden from the beginning of just the inspiration. It was Swedish film. It was all my memories. It was Sweden, and this film was all about Poland. It was. It starts in Poland. There's nothing. And for me, it would be impossible to. I mean, this film would look very different if it was set in Sweden or, I don't know, a different country. It's a. It's an emotional thing. It's not so. I mean, I can rationalize it, but it's not what really is. For me, it's just kind of emotional, like a child who says, "No, this is Poland."
Mhm. Anna says, "Thank you, a great film. I enjoyed the camera work a lot. There are some hypnotic shots and also amazing reflections in the mirror, in the window. Did you plan to use so many reflections, or was it just a coincidence when the shots were being set?"
Um, I'm sure there are some coincidences, but I would say most of everything in this film are. Oh, I mean, nothing is a coincidence, really. And some things are complete kind of surprises. But the camera work, I would say, even though on set we worked in a way that we kind of never storyboarded the scenes,
Mhm.
we didn't want to, but we worked up intuition for how the scenes would be shot. And our strength was, I mean, to build each scene, we shot in one take. And we never wanted to repeat it the same way, and we never thought about editing,
Uh-huh.
and we never thought about coverage, and we thought about, let's just follow the action in an as intuitive way as possible, and have as much fun as possible, and be as free as possible. I mean, and this is connected to, and it's important as well, that we were never able to gather the whole budget of the film we wanted. So we had to do a kind of low budget. We had 21 shooting days, which is, in my opinion, very little. Uh, so we had to shoot in this way as well. But it's also something we turned to a kind of strength, and we called our camera the devoted Labrador. It's a dog who, only has good intentions and only wants to jump up and lick you in the face, and doesn't feel that it has dirty paws and it will make dirty marks on your clothes. And it's always a bit too close, but even if you push it away, it
Mhm.
will leave you alone, but it will never be mad at you. It will never bite you. So this is our camera. And then it just became, because when we started cutting up scenes, and I tried to a couple of times, it's then that I start telling my cinematographer too much what to do, and I lose something. And he also starts to be too intellectual. So, for example, the whole birthday sequence at when she goes to her mother, that whole sequence, which we rehearsed quite sometimes, we set up in an apartment, and we shot it from the car downstairs when she arrives, up the stairs, down the stairs, up the stairs, the whole party. When the card on the Alexa ran out after 40 minutes, we make a technical stop and change card and continue.
Mhm.
So we never cut, and we make long shot, and the actors are let free in this apartment. We light it so that we can turn 360 degrees. The sound technicians have to be very improvise a lot. Sometimes they end up in the shot, but we don't care, because in the end our editing method was, I like to call it like the cucumber method. It's, you have a cucumber, you cut out a piece and you put it together. It still looks like a cucumber, but it's shorter. And we just edited the film like this, with, of course, a great editor, Agnieszka Glinska. But that whole approach was a kind of a free your mind and don't think too much and let's have fun and don't plan too much, because but on a personal note, that's because it's one of my problems. I try to plan too much, and I try to, do some therapy, work on myself. Like, okay, um, I will try to not have a storyboard or not be planned, and I will just try to go with the flow.
It's really fascinating, all of this that you said, because I was thinking that scenes are really like elaborately thought of how to shoot them, or very close, or does camera stay on her in this moment or not. And I was really, while watching, of course I'm watching with with questions for you in mind. But I was thinking that because and camera is very many times very near
Yes.
the character or the
But
characters.
that's something we not that we discovered for our film, or that we wanted to use, that we discovered on castings and rehearsals. Because since Magda was with us on all castings when we casted other characters, we filmed a lot. Uh, and each time we tried to make, I always like to make castings interesting. Like, how do we do it interesting? We do it outside, we do it in a car, or we do it in some apartment. I hate these casting rooms. So we try to do it in a fun way and make the scenes interesting for the actors. So then we end up shooting a lot of scenes. And at one moment, I remember it was when Michał Dymek, the cinematographer, started, or we were casting the scene for the old friend she meets in the supermarket or in the shopping mall, who had a miscarriage. And the scene when it was in the script, it was maybe 20 minutes long, and we were shooting this, and we were thinking, okay, we need to cut it up a bit, or maybe we take some wide shot, and it was already feeling it's very boring. So I just asked Michał to be close, but then he started doing this very interesting things, like going closer and closer and closer till we were just watching eyes, and kind of just looking at this old friend, maybe 2 times in the whole 20-minute shot, and just kind of just profile a bit. And it created such tension that it was something we kind of developed for the whole film later, of this going closer and closer, going into eyes, or something like in the gym when she's working out with the moving head, and all these things kind of happened on set. But I think we had prepared a long time to know that, oh, these things we want, and we knew very much what we didn't want, I think.
Yeah, the scene in the gym really speaks a lot, and it's. Um, I wanted to ask you, still, when shooting the city, it's like passages, let's say, from the car. When she's driving in the car, you see the city. But I think that also these shots can tell us something. Again, not directly, but I feel that all these buildings that we see, they are also shot in kind of narrow or shots, and this
I'm
building.
sorry, I lost you for a moment,
Aha.
because I was like 20 seconds of freeze. I'm
Ah,
sorry.
okay, quite a lot. S-
Yeah.
so so I'm talking about how you were shooting the film, the city, that we have these passages from the car, but I find these shots again that they're telling us a lot, not directly, and that I find this building like stone face, like that we don't see behind their facades or
Hmm.
something.
Hmm. Oh, that's
Were you
interesting.
thinking something like this, or?
No, I was thinking uh, she's looking at her city with new eyes.
Ah, okay.
But and that was kind of the direction we had. This morning she drives to work, and she looks at the city with new pair of eyes. Uh, but then and then when we shot this, it was I was thinking of, when I was looking at the buildings, I was thinking, oh, it looks like thousands of smartphones. Uh, but I like what you say. It's like you don't see what's behind the glass. It's also good, I think.
And you said that she's like in this all this aesthetics of pink and so and blonde and pink and nails and so, but also the aesthetic of the film actually is like this, the neon lights and bright colors, and so it's
Yeah,
connect.
because we thought absolutely, because we also said that we should not try. It was one of the rules we said was, let's not try to, I don't know if it's a word, but aestheticalize, or to make the world more aesthetic or something for us than it is. So a shopping mall should not look like David Fincher shoots a shopping mall or something. It should be screamy and kind of ugly, and we should try to embrace this kind of ugliness of the normal world, because I think it's really difficult to do that, because even if you plan to do it, somewhere in the process of filmmaking, you tend to aestheticalize things all the time. And especially since it's not one person making a film, it's a lot of people. And everyone has a good intention to make it look beautiful. So telling people, no, don't like go this way instead, you have to you have to aim very high to land in the middle. And if I remember many times in the pre-production to say, no, let's have a kind of a shitty camera for this film. Let's not have a good camera. Let's have a kind of even bad camera, because I like the image. And I had to say this very, like, to even end up with a good camera, or not to end up with an amazing camera. I feel this is filmmaking. You have to like aim 200% to end up at 100 or something.
There is another question from Angers from before. He says, thank you for the answer. Like you said, Sylvia has a lot of empathy, but do the people on the other side really want her as a person or her as an ideal? During her encounters, you get the notion that she wants to be seen but isn't. The mall scene and the family scene.
It's a good question. I don't know. I think, I mean, people want her to remain in the phone in a way. Yeah. I mean, that's where she is somehow best, or on the screen. And maybe outside that, she will be something else. But maybe that's like the fantasy of everyone. We maybe don't want the real people. We want the fantasy we have, or the idea we have of people. And maybe, okay, it can go both ways in how we want to see that. But many times, I don't know, we meet someone, we're disappointed because they don't live up to our expectations or what we wanted them to be.
Jure asks, do you feel your film reached the young audiences that are influenced the most from Instagram and similar social media in the film?
I don't know yet. I hope so. I have no idea. This year has been strange, and it is strange. So I have no idea what people the film is reaching. I really hope the film would. But I also don't think the young, in one way, maybe young generation uses Instagram. But I think, I mean, my parents use Instagram as much as I do, and I like the young people maybe work more as an influencer, but using Instagram in one way or the other, actively or passively, I feel it's not generation bound.
Because actually, two people are asking, how did influencers respond to Sweat? Probably this, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. I wish I knew. I wish I had met some, but I haven't. The sad truth is, I feel I haven't learned anything from the film yet, because I learned something when I sit in a cinema and I have to watch my film with other people, which is quite painful, because then you hear the body language of the room, and it's impossible. That language doesn't lie, and then you hear what works and what doesn't work. And I haven't had that privilege yet. So and I haven't met any influencers in real life yet that have watched the film. I've only been speaking to people like I speak to you now, and I haven't met you. I mean, I receive questions that Varja is reading, and I can't see I have met you, and I really wish I could meet you, and I mean see you, and we could speak in real life.
But the film did have quite a festival uh, career, or how do you call
Yes.
it? A lot, huh? It got quite a lot of prizes. But
Yes, I mean, for this, it's great, and I'm very happy for this. And maybe the irony is that maybe a different year, it would have been different for this film. But I'm very happy about, I mean, all that, the prizes, the festivals, and that it's been sold to so many different regions, areas of the world, and it's being shown to so many different people, it's just, I mean, from my personal experience, it's not satisfying because I can't experience it. You know, on an abstract level, it's satisfying, but not like, I don't know, on a physical, there's no touch in it.
Yeah, understandable. Your previous films or your previous feature film, The Hereafter, was a more of a dark story about violence amongst youth. Um, Here you have again a young character with different kind of violence present. Uh, are you thinking about your next project already?
Yes, I'm writing it right now, but I want to try, like Sweat, from my first film. The Hereafter was very uh, slow, static, quite little dialogue, kind of pastel colors. And in making Sweat, I wanted to make everything that that film was not. I wanted to make something, it was a reaction. I wanted to make something very different. So in all the way different, like handheld, dynamic, lots of dialogue, screaming colors. In the end, I eventually think it's kind of the same film on a deep level of, I mean, for me personally and with the characters. But now again, I want to make something quite different, or I aim to make something different, a different packaging at least. And it's a costume horror drama, or drama horror, I would say, set in Denmark, in Copenhagen, just after the First World War. And I'm working on this now, and it's a much bigger film. I hope it will get kind of full financing. It will happen. It's very interesting story, very kind of scary, very. I mean, I want to get. I find it fascinating how, because I feel it's very difficult when I watch other films to find costume dramas or period films that are credible, or that are interesting, or that just don't, I don't know, put on some clothes, or I mean, to do something with it. How to do that? That is a huge challenge, I think. So that's the next one.
Looking forward. Sounds really interesting. There is a comment from Maya. Even though it is said that the film did not come to cinemas because of the pandemic, but is in a way so on time on screens, time on loneliness. So your next film, horror drama, do you think this is what awaits us in real life?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, because after the pandemic, we will be wanting to go back to a life as it was 1920, where we were all crawling in mud, or being close to each other. So maybe that's what we need after pandemic. It's to be much closer, much more physical.
Super. Is there not any more questions? And I think we had a really nice talk. We got to know your film really from different uh, angles. Sorry not to get to know you in person, but I think we will travel again and we will welcome you in Ljubljana. I really hope.
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for the questions and everything. I'm happy you watched the film, and thank you.
thanks a lot for the film and the talk. And good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you very much.